maps I find ridiculous. I made gingerbread cookies in the shape of congressional districts. Oh my god, how are they so accurate? Hey mom, have you seen my TX29 congressional district cookie cutter? 8 ways to divide the Netherlands. Ooh, this is interesting. Cities makes up the green and farmland makes up the pink. And then flatland makes up the pink and blue makes up the hills. Alright, I'm putting Google Street View somewhere in the Netherlands, and if it isn't flat, I have to have a shot. Here we go. Oh, it's very flat. It's very flat. It's so flat. Distribution of grain-red squirrels in the UK. Oh, that's sad. 1945, kind of kicking about all over. Red squirrels mainly. And then in 2010, numbers have decreased significantly. Americans' opinions on Europe. I'm sure this is largely built on stereotypes, where we can see Russia is in the red. Of course, we blame the governments for all these negatives as opposed to the normal people there. We can see Americans' most positive opinion is Italy, which I suppose makes sense. Seems like a really nice place to go. A map of where traffic accidents occurred between 2016 and 2019 in 48 states. I mean, surely this correlates to a population density map, because if there's more people, there's going to be more accidents, isn't there? Today, Joseph and Mary would have to pass through 15 checkpoints to get from Nazareth to Bethlehem. Poor Mary having to travel 145 kilometers while heavily pregnant. Most common foreign nationalities in prisons of European cities. This is quite a weird and slightly depressing one. So I assume in the UK, most of the prisoners in the UK are from the UK. However, the foreign prisoners in UK prisons, most of them are from Albania. Then for France and Switzerland, it's Algeria. For Spain, it's Morocco. For Portugal, it's Cape Verde, which is a wild one. I assume lots of quite sad systemic poverties to blame for this. The Mediterranean Sea fits inside Australia. Hold on, I'm fact-checking that one. Oh, yeah, fair enough. Places of worship, North America. Wait, you mean to say that they have less places of worship in places where less people live? What? Percentage of Europeans who would fight for their country. Much lower over on the west of Europe, with people far more patriotic and up for it on the east. I'm not fighting for anyone, sorry guys. Languages spoken by European/North American leaders. Ooh. Prime Minister of the UK speaks English, Punjabi, and Hindi. Interesting. Did not know that. Oh my god, the Pope's gone mental. 1, 2, 3, 8 languages. What's the word for that? If you speak more than 5, you're a polyglot. That's really impressive. Being fluent in more than one language is really difficult. Percentage of population able to hold a conversation in German in the EU by country. Well, not to float my own boat or anything, but I did actually reach a 1-year streak on Duolingo yesterday, for which I will say, Hallo, wie geht's? Hallo, es geht danke. Und du? Ja, es geht danke. There we go. That counts, that counts. I'm in the 6%, that counts, that counts. 1920 Australian map of sheep. No sheep, no sheep, no sheep. Some sheep, some sheep, some sheep, no sheep, no sheep, some sheep, some sheep. Fascinating stuff. Most common country of birth for residents of foreign origin, excluding Mexico. Very specific. I assume this is a small minority of the population, but still very interesting. Did not expect India. Would never have said Philippines for Alaska too. I assume if you included Mexico, would it just all be Mexico? Forest coverage map of Costa Rica over time. Okay, so in 1940, 75% of the country was forest, which is incredible. But over the course of 80 years, that went down to 21%. But then amazingly, it seems like they've actually been actively trying to recover that forest. And in 2010, it went back up to 52%, which is amazing. South America map, but with each country's national football team's shirt. That's nice. I like it. That looks good. Most popular languages learned on Duolingo per country. So most countries learning English, which I guess makes sense. UK and Ireland learning Spanish. Swedish most learned language is Swedish, which I think is because they use it in school. Yeah, that is partly right, but it's also apparently because of a large refugee population. And I'm interested in why there's this cluster of learning Deutsch in the Balkans. The word for tea in languages of Europe. Tea, 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 Thai, tea, 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 deja, tea, teya, arbata, rapata, herbata, tea, tea, cha, tea, tian, Okay, I give up. Today I learned the Uruguay River is mostly not in Uruguay and it doesn't start there. Right, here's Uruguay. It's on the border and most of it's in Brazil. Drink driving limits in Europe. That's interesting. England actually lets you have slightly more alcohol than everywhere else. I mean, that's not great. Is it just something to do with our pub culture? Places that were ruled by Muslims at some point in history. A very, very large portion of the entire planet. Map of the world mirrored. I hate it. Oh, God, Americas. What is going on? Why are you so... Africa? Antarctica with no ice as a fantasy map. Wait, enhance. Oh. This just reminds me that I would really like to go to Antarctica at some point. Whoa. Map of the 7,000 rivers that feed into the Mississippi River. That is crazy. Oh, current Mars map. Ancient Mars map. Back when there was water on Mars. Look at that. Oh, God. Hey, up, is that little nipple Olympus Mons by any chance? Largest volcano on Mars. I know stuff. Don't worry about it. Hey, up, it's Olympus Mons. Largest volcano on Mars. This is the big fella in comparison to the size of France. And as you can see, he is indeed a big fella. Percentage of population absolutely certain that God exists. Europe versus USA. So religion really dying out in Europe. 10 to 29% of people being absolutely certain that God exists. Where you can see in USA, specifically the South, 70 to 82% are 100% certain. And then 50 to 70% in the rest of the country. US states in which homosexuality was illegal from 1962 to 2012. 2012. Mental. As if within my own lifetime, a lot of the US still considered being gay an illegal act. That is crazy. Oh, South America elevation tile map. Enhance, enhance. Oh, look at that. Look how beautiful it is. Look at how mountainous it is all across the west, all the way down Chile. Oh my God, bloody hell. Geographical distribution of native English speakers. Whoa, look how big and fat British Isles have gotten. Map of population density of several European countries. Okay, you see that everyone in France is basically in Paris. Then Italy, a lot more varied throughout all of the major cities. Deutschland, we've got a big boost in Berlin, but that's still quite evenly spread. England also quite spread out, obviously, with peaks in London. Then in Spain, big tip in Coruna for quite a small city. Belgium, mainly around Brussels. Sweden has got 3 big tips. Then we have Netherlands, Turkey, Greece, Switzerland, Poland, very evenly distributed, Austria, and Hungary. Hungary making Budapest look like Mount Doom. Look at that. All right, and on that map, we're ending here. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you later.